welcome to a special Valentine's edition episode. Hopefully you are all doing alright and staying safe, and hello and welcome back to well, not some, but to a special episode. Sorry, my eyes are gone all tired, so it's now making me groggy feeling, I tell you. But hopefully you are all doing alright and staying safe, and hello and welcome back. So, in today's episode we're doing a Would You Rather. I am currently alone. But I am with you this Valentine's Day. Alright, so I need to actually, spin a wheel. It's not a wheel, it's a number generator. I have to click it as a 1 to 5, and whatever it lands in, that's our Would You Rather. Either that, it is a little bit clunky because I can only have 2 things open at a time. So you know what, I'll just abandon that idea, we're already, going off track. Alright, but let me go find it. It is that? Yeah. Alright, so I have 50 would you rather questions with 50 steps all the way around. Let us begin. This is going to be a long one, I tell you, a long one. Alright. Would you rather receive a handwritten love letter or a surprise candlelit dinner? You know what, that is a hard one. That is a hard one. Handwritten letter or surprise candlelit dinner? You know what, I would say letter. We're probably gonna go letter. And we'll continue up one step. You know what? We'll keep on this step because it makes more sense, because this is number 1 and that's number 2, and then I would get off track and then it'd be one number short, Alright. So, our next question is, would you rather go to a beach sunset date or a snowy cabin getaway? That is a hard one, I tell you. That is a hard one. A beach sunset date. You know what, I would go with the beach sunset date. It's better than a snowy cabin getaway. Because that's like, something that you would want to go on a date a few dates in. Or, you've been dating for, quite a while. You would want to go with that option. Either that would be quite, awkward. That's what I will say. It would be quite awkward. Alright. So, would you rather relive your first date or fast forward to your 50th anniversary? The first option is a point, and the second option is I stay. That's something I forgot to explain. Alright, so first option is stay. Oh, I broke the glass. How many times have I done this, I was doing a test, beforehand, and I kept breaking the glass because I kept, forgetting. So you know what, I'll shove myself in survival. We'll give myself 64, and I'll give myself stakes. Alright, oh, that's the location that we're at. And we'll just go into survival. Makes it a little bit easier, I tell you. Alright, so first date or fast forward to your 50th anniversary? You know what, I'm gonna go with the first date. Just because you kind of miss out on a lot if you're at your 50th anniversary, you could be like 70, 80, 90 years old at that, point. So you never really know. Would you rather get roses every year or one unforgettable gifts? How many times do I have to say this to people? Like, roses are good, but they're not that good. So I would say probably unforgettable gift. Just because it is probably the best option. Because I would rather get an unforgettable gift than waste every year. That's 365 roses. What, are you getting 365 roses each year? All at once, or is it one every day? That's kind of like a waste, I feel. That's kind of like a waste. I would feel bad for the ecosystem. So I'd rather go with the one unforgettable gift, I tell you. So we're currently on 1, 2, 3, 4. Now we're on 5. Alright. So that is right. 1, 2, 3, 4. Yep. Alright. Would you rather a slow dance in the kitchen or under the stars? Would you rather slow dance in the kitchen or under the stars? Well, you could be making mac and cheese in the kitchen, so I might go with that option. uh, Alright, we have quite a lot of steps to go so far, I tell you. We got quite a lot of steps so far. I will also eat one of my golden apples. It gives me a little bit of health in case I fall. Even though there is water, I'm afraid that I would fall when I get to like this point and just splat right on top of one of these. It would be the most awkward thing because I would have to, well, I would spawn at that bed. Luckily I did actually think about that and place down the bed, you know. I almost punched that glass again. Alright, but I would probably go with slow dance in the kitchen just because you probably make mac and cheese. It's 3 a.m., 4 a.m., 2 a.m. Who cares? But it's just a nice time. And that's, you know, that's something I would always say, you know, go for a nice time, a wholesome time. Better than any of the other times. Alright. Would you rather the perfect date or be completely surprised? Or be completely surprised? Would you rather plan the perfect date or be completely surprised? You know what? I'm gonna say plan the perfect date. And the reason being is you can plan out, like, you know, all these, you know, little details and all that you know that person would smile at, or, you know, it would be a nice time, you know, seeing them, you know, go do all these things like carnival, beach date, you know. Oh, those are, like, you know, the best options. Those are the best options. Alright. So our next would you rather is, let's see, I need to scroll down now. We're actually almost at the end of our first set, that being our first 10. Alright. Would you rather watch a romantic movie or take a long moonlit walk? Hmm. Watch a romantic movie or take a moonlit walk? Moonlit walks are quite nice, you know. If it's nice, warm, like, you know, even like, you know, cold, you know, times, you know, it could be snowing, you know, you're going for a walk in the snow, you know, it's nice. You fall into the snow, you smoochy, you know, a little bit, and then, you know, you have to pat yourself off of all that stuff. I would probably go for the moonlit walk, you know, it's probably the better option if I'm being honest. It's probably the better option. So, now on to our next one, you know. I want to keep this rolling because I want to keep it not relatively too long, but not relatively too short. Alright. Would you rather have a picnic in a flower field or a dinner on a rooftop patio? Hmm. Well, if any of you know me, it's probably the picnic. And the reason would be is picnics are nice. They're underrated, I tell you. Like, I think like the worst thing that I've heard about like a country and picnics probably has to be Japan and their picnics. Because their picnics, they have certain places that you cannot go unless you book a time to go there. And it's like the most annoying thing because yeah, it'd be like super peaceful, you know. But at the same time, you know, I feel like, you know, mad at that, you know. I just want a nice time for a nice picnic. But if it was just a regular picnic, like, you know, on like a, you know, nice, you know, grassy hill under a tree, you know, that would be nice. That would be nice. Sorry, I'm sinking too much into this appetite. Look into my eyes. Picnic. Picnic. Alright, we can continue on now. Alright, we're on to our last two. Would you rather get a giant teddy bear or a giant box of chocolates? I'd probably go with the chocolate, the teddy bear. And the reason being is I can no longer have any chocolate. It's really, ever since I had this box of panda chocolate, these panda little biscuits from China, my entire ability to eat chocolate is gone. I got so ill from those chocolates that it made me throw up for like a week or two. Like, even thinking to it, I'm going to, throw up, That's how bad it is. It's traumatic, I tell you. It's traumatic. But ever since that happened, I've never been able to have, sadly, chocolate again. Unless, it upsets my stomach. Sorry if you hear me hydrating there. Remember to hydrate, gang. Valentine's Day. It's always good to hydrate on Valentine's Day. Why? Well, you know what? It does not really matter why. Whether, it's a romantic day or it's a platonic day. It's just a day to have a nice day. Alright. Unless you cheat on someone on this day, and then, it's not a nice day. Alright. Our last question of Would You Rather for... Open up my window. Just a tad little bit. It's so humid that, when I was planning out, this entire thing, that it was just torturous. It was really torturous. Alright. So, our last Would You Rather. Would you rather renew your vows every year or celebrate Valentine's Day in a new country each year? Well, that's a hard question because you know how many countries there is. There's about 200 countries, so you probably won't be able to visit all of them in your lifetime. But at the same time, it's kind of a bit awkward, especially if you end up in a country that doesn't really like you or your personality or your person. Certain places don't like women. Certain places don't like certain religions. It's it's not the best, I tell you. It's not the best if you end up in one of those countries. So you probably, well, it said in a new country each year. So you could possibly plan what one you could go to, and it's probably like the safe options, New Zealand's quite nice. Ow! I told you this would happen. I told you this could happen. Now I have to go all the way back and swim all the way here, and then slowly. You know what? I'm gonna sleep. I'm gonna sleep the night away. I tell you, I'm gonna sleep the night away. There we go. Alright, so we just finished off the last of the section that I called the romantic and sweet section. Where I put, all the romantic stuff. You can't see my hand gestures, but you get what I mean. Alright. Now we're on to the next section. Actually... Oh, I accidentally read one of the ones that were coming up. Oh, poop. I did a oopsie, I tell you. It was would you rather receive chocolates or jewelry? You know what, I would probably say jewelry over chocolate because still I can't have chocolate. Chocolate is very bad for me, I tell you. Chocolate's very bad for me. Alright. So, we'll just go to our first option. Would you rather a giant teddy bear or a giant box of chocolates? Again, I would probably pick the teddy bear. I do apologize, gang. I do apologize. I accidentally read a little bit of ahead there. Alright. Okay, hopefully it does not happen now. Would you rather go on a double date or have a private date? Probably a private date, unless you knew the other party. If you know the other party and it's not going to be awkward, then I would say the double date. But if you don't know the other party very well, or they're like friends, but you're not really like, compatible as like a group, and then I would probably say a private date. Private dates are nice. So I'll probably go with private date. Alright. So, would you rather wear matching outfits or matching pajamas? Oh, that is a hard one. That is a hard one. Like, pajamas, they're comfy. But, my brain farted there. Matching outfits do be quite nice, But I would probably go with pajamas. It's probably the better option and almost fell there again. You'd almost laughed at me again. I know I'm terrible at jumping. This is why I don't do parkour episodes, you know. I should have just made a big long line. It would have been a little bit simpler, but I thought I'd make it very cool looking, but no, no. Alright. So, let us move on to our next Would You Rather. Would you rather get serenaded in public or whispered sweet nothings in private? Probably sweet nothings in private. Serenaded in public, you know, you always have people like staring at you or giving you judging eyes, you know. People be annoying, you know. Like, I knew your grandmother was probably doing something in a graveyard with some guy, you know. So I'd probably go with that option, I tell you. Is this the right number? So that would 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yeah, we are on track. Alright. Would you rather have a breakfast in bed or a midnight dessert date? You know what? It could be very cute. If it was like a warm midnight dessert date, then I would say definitely. But breakfast is nice in bed, so I would probably go with breakfast in bed unless it was a warm midnight date. And, oh, sorry. I started thinking to myself like there, and I started just, you know, going on autopilot. Alright. Would you rather get 100 small gifts or one big surprise gift? I would probably say 100 small gifts. And it's not out of greed, it's probably because they'll be nicer than just one big gift. Plus, you know, your significant other, you know, could do something nice for you, you know. Little tiny little cards in them, like, you know, telling them how much they love you and all that. That kind of stuff. That stuff is nice. So I would probably go with that option, I tell you. Alright. Would you rather write a poem or sing a love song? I would probably write a poem because I have a terrible voice for singing. I feel bad, you know. Maybe if I had a better voice, maybe I have a voice trained, you know. It would be, you know, better, but you know, I'm going to have to pick the poem over the love song. I'm terrible at singing. Would you rather celebrate on February the 14th or on a random surprise day? That would be interesting. But you know what? Many people don't actually celebrate Valentine's on Valentine's. And you know why? Because you get chocolate the next day discounted. So a lot of people get the chocolate the next day for their significant other. Because why waste, you know, money on like full price chocolate when it's obviously a rip off because they're discounting it the next day just to get rid of it. So I would probably go with, you know, I would say random surprise day, but I'm gonna go with celebrate it on the 14th. Because the next day you can go and get some extra chocolate. Alright. Oh, I think I'm one ahead. Am I one ahead? I think I'm one ahead. Alright. Would you rather have a partner who's super romantic or super funny? I would probably say, well, if you think about it, like, one that's super funny is nice, you know. One that's super romantic is nice too. Oh, that's a hard choice. That is a hard choice. That is a hard choice. Dang, that is hard. That is a hard choice. That is a hard choice. Give me a second to think about this. I would probably say super funny would be nice, but it's also nice to have romantic, so a partner who's super romantic or super funny. Well, I would say I would be very terrible to romance, so I'll probably go with super funny. It's probably better. It's probably for the best. It's probably for the best. Alright. Wait 1 second. So our next Would You Rather is... Actually, I was on track. I was on the right track. So this is the last... No, wait, no. I'm on track now. I keep messing up. Don't blame me. Don't blame me. Would you rather recreate a famous movie love scene or invent your own romantic tradition? Probably invent my own romantic tradition. That one's easy, that one is the easy one. If I'm being honest, that one is the easy one. Alright. Hmm. Oh, that's gotta be... We have some upcoming ones that are about, certain, like, movies and all that coming up. Inspired by a lot of, pop culture, movies and other, stuff like books. And that's coming up now. So, would you rather have a love story like The Notebook or like the Titanic? That is a hard choice. Though I feel like at the end of Titanic, she could have let him on the door. She could have let him on the door. So I'ma say, Titanic because I don't know The Notebook. I'm being honest, yeah, I don't know The Notebook. Alright. Would you would you rather receive a I'm flying moment like in the Titanic or a passionate rain kiss in the Notebook? Why is there so much Notebook and, Titanic? Like, dang, why? Who created this list, I tell you? It's all, like, I feel like they were putting their own, imagination and fantasy into this. Alright, I would probably say a nice, passionate rain kiss like the Notebook. That's what I'm gonna say. That's what I'm gonna say. That's probably the better choice, to be honest. Then you can giggle. And then you can get splashed in the eye. Would you rather celebrate Valentine's Day in Paris or in New York City? Probably Paris if I could speak French. That would probably be, the problem there. In New York, oh, don't go to Valentine's Day. Don't even go to New York. Don't go to America. That's terrible. Who would go? Who would want to go there? I'd probably go with the option of a day in Paris. If I'm being honest. How far am I into this? Okay. Yeah, we're going with the Valentines in Paris. That is probably the better option, to be honest. Alright. Our next Would You Rather. Would you rather meet a cute... Meet... Wait. Would you have rather met a cute person in a bookstore or at airport? I would probably say bookstore. That's probably the better, option. Alright. Would you rather date a superhero or rock star? It depends, I tell you. That's a hard one. You can either have, vocal, like, going mad or a superhero. And superheroes would be good if they kept their identity secret. So I would possibly go with superhero if villains didn't come after me. So I would go with superheroes, That's probably the better option. Alright. Oh, we have another, one coming up. Would you rather have a love like Romeo and Juliet or like Elizabeth Bennet and Mr. Darcy? Well, I don't like men, so... this is a hard option, But Elizabeth Bennet sounds like it's a very old thing, so maybe the second option? I would probably go with the second option. Someone let me know down below, what, all of that's about. Elizabeth Bennet and Mr. Darcy. I feel like I remember it on the vaguest part of my memory, on the very edge. Would you rather spend Valentine's Day at Disneyland Park or on a tropical island? Probably a tropical island, because Disneyland sucks. Really bad. Really, really bad. Yeah, it has a lot of nice stuff in it, but it's really, really bad, if I'm being honest. Like, trying to get, a place there, they are really, really terrible to disabled people a lot of the time, and, don't go there. Don't go to Disneyland. Don't go there. You got that? Don't go there. Now, did I move, or I'll move. I'm going with a tropical island. All right. Would you rather a? Why is there so much slow dancing? How much people want to slow dance around here? Would you rather slow dance to a classic love song or a modern pop ballad? Well, I would probably say a classic love song because modern, songs that are about love kinda suck, if I'm being honest. Kinda suck. I'm just being honest, They are really bad, so I would probably go with that. And that is a classic love song. Would you rather have a grand airport confession or a quiet, heartfelt speech? Probably a quiet, heartfelt speech, if I'm being honest. That's probably the better option. Alright. We are on to our last of that section. Would you rather fall in love at first sight or become best friends first? Oh, that is a hard one. I would probably say best friends at first. You know what? That'd be the option. Friends to lover. That's what we'll go with. Friends to lover. All right. So now we're into the funny and light-hearted stuff. All right. Would you rather eat only shape heart food all day or wear red and pink all week? Now, what is this red and pink? Could I be wearing a hoodie? Like, who says I have to go outside? I could just be wearing a hoodie, without anything underneath. That could be the option, that could be the option. Like, some maybe, underwear, kind of stuff above, and on. But, just nothing else. No trousers. Just hoodie. And then just chill inside for a whole week. That would probably be the best option. Instead of having to eat heart-shaped food all day. So I'm gonna go with that option. I feel like it's a little bit awkward. Alright. Alright, we have our next Would You Rather. That is, would you rather accidentally send a love text to the wrong person or forget Valentine's Day completely? You know what? I already have bad enough memories. Who needs Valentine's Day? We can just forget all about Valentine's Day. A love text to the wrong person would be awkward. But the thing is, I don't have a phone, so I'll probably go with the first option because, you know, but I guess Discord and other stuff, root and all that, maybe I accidentally send it to someone like, oh, I love you, baby, and then bam, it's a wrong person. Also, was that thunder? Or was it just a lighting glitch? Just a lighting glitch. So I would probably go with a love text, It's not a bad option. It's not a bad option, to be honest. Would you rather get one... Wait, did I move up? I did not move up, sorry. Would you rather get 100 Valentine's Day cards from strangers or one from your crush? One from your crush, obviously. Like, what field do you take me for, Oh, alright. Would you rather date with a budget of $10 or $10,000? But the thing is that $10,000 could be going on a trip somewhere. So possibly $10,000 would probably be the right option. Also, I don't know why it's dollars, Not even in America, It could be Canadian dollars, I'm not even in Canada either. Or Australian dollars. Why is there so many dollars? Alright. Would you rather have Cupid following you around all day or none of his help at all? Why would he follow me around all day? That would be very awkward. Like, you're on the toilet and Cupid's just, chilling there. Like, is Cupid nice looking or is he just, horrid looking? That's another option, That's very, frightening. Is he, like, biblical looking or, you know? You know what? It would not be too bad just to have them hanging around apart from the toilet thing. So I'll probably go with them following me around, but the toilet thing. They'll have to wait outside. Alright. Would you rather have your partner forget your anniversary or forget Valentine's Day? Probably Valentine's Day. I don't really care for Valentine's Day too much, So we are going on a date later on. I am planning on doing a date with a chat. But it will be very awkward. It will be very awkward. Would you rather get proposed to on Valentine's Day doesn't exist no more. Would you rather get proposed to on Valentine's Day or on a random ordinary day? Probably a random ordinary day, and not the problem. The thing about that is, it would probably be for the best, because then it could be like, you're on vacation, there's fireworks, and bam, you can kiss, and then they propose to you, in like one of those movies. That would be nice, that would be nice. So I'll probably go with that option. This is where it gets scary, because I decided to do one block. Would you rather have a fancy 5-star dinner or street food under fairy lights? Street food under fairy lights, obviously. Would you rather spend Valentine's Day single but spoiled, or coupled but low-key? What? But spoiled or coupled but low-key? This one doesn't make sense. This one doesn't make sense. Like, if I'm being spoiled single, that's basically just a regular day, to be honest. That's basically a regular day, if I'm being honest. So, maybe I would try the second option just because I don't know what that means, to be honest. They don't do a very good job explaining these things, to be honest. I do apologize for saying, to be honest, quite a lot there. Would you rather receive a gift you love but pretend to hate, or a gift you hate but pretend to love? Probably a gift you hate but pretend to love. That'd probably be the better option. You don't want to break their heart, by acting like you hate it. Alright, we have the sot and other, provoking stuff. So, would you rather love someone who lives far away or someone who travels constantly? Well, regular Danes basically live far away, so we'll go with they live far away. That'd probably be the better option if I'm being honest. They live far away. Modern dating these days, huh? Alright. Alright. Would you rather know how your love story ends or be surprised? Probably be surprised, to be honest, Probably be surprised. Unless it's like, sad and then dying or something, that's kind of a bit sad, Would you rather risk heartbreak or never fall in love at all? Probably risk heartbreak, but at the same time, if they're like the terrible one, then it's probably for the best that you break up, Like, I would break up with them if they were the terrible one, If I was the terrible one, I'd probably just be because I'm not that very good at showing love. I'm not the best, I tell you. I'm not the best. So, on to our next option. Would you rather have one epic love story or many short romances? That is a hard choice. That is a hard choice. Would you rather have one epic love story? But then that could be your entire life, Or many short romances. One epic long story, because I think the many short romances is kind of just, multiple people that you've dated. And that kind of, yeah. Not a very good option. Would you rather marry your first love or your best friend? That is a hard choice. Probably not the first love because they were absolutely disgusting person, I would say. She was just terrible, 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 terrible. So I'd probably go with, what do you call it? Best friend. Alright. So, our next one is, would you rather have passion without stability, or stability without passion? That is a hard one. That is a really hard one. Probably stability without passion. But like, is this in a relationship? Like, the stability of your relationship? Because, if that's like a problem line, we should break off, It's better, like, we don't both get hurt or, all that, so. Better to break up with them, that's what I would say. So I would probably go with the first option, just because it would save a lot more problems. Would you rather celebrate Valentine's Day every month, or only once but extravagantly? Probably extravagantly. Alright. Would you rather be the romantic one or be romance? Probably romance, if I'm being honest. Probably romance. Would you rather say I love you first or hear it first? That is a hard one there. Like, if you know they love you, then I would probably pick the first option, but if I don't know, like, I'm very dense, probably the second option. Alright. Would you rather have a quiet... Also, I think I'm one behind. I knew I was one behind, It was somewhere around this bit right here when it did not move. Would you rather have a quiet Valentine's night or a big glamorous celebration? Well, if I'm bringing like friends around, then that would be like, the big glamorous celebration. And that would be nice, inviting your friends around, everyone's having a nice time. No one's feeling lonely on Valentine's Day and night. So probably the second option. Probably the second option. And that is our end of this adventure for Would You Rather. And we get to finish it off with a big dive. So, let us get ready for that. Whee! Whee! Ah, yes. Very, worth it. It was 50 questions, I tell you. 50 questions I had to do. And then also build 50 platforms. This is what 50 platforms looks like, including all of those tiny little ones. I was just going to build it all, these big platforms, but I decided not to. So, that is where we're going to be ending off for our Would You Rather. I would, link you the website that I, got these questions from, but, just because of how bad some of their questions are, they can go and just take their, some trashy questions the other direction. Because that low-key one I still don't understand. So, hopefully you enjoyed this. Have a nice day, stay safe, possible. Thanks for watching, it's very important. Have a nice day, thanks for watching, bye-bye.